Hello everyone. It's James again. And today I want to talk about a comment that was left on my last video. And it's a comment that should make one ponder and think. To think about its meaning. And its meaning that affects us all. And how we deal with such things. And this comment I speak of reads as follows. The world is so full of narcissists that human interaction has become a minefield. Now though I'm all about being as positive as possible. Though understanding we must confront and deal with our negative past and present. And throughout these positive outlooks and feelings. One would be delusional to believe we live in a world where everything and everyone is good. And furthermore, to think those that are good aren't capable of doing bad things. Because here's the facts, people. We live in a world where those that step on the person in front of them is rewarded. That's life. Now are there some things that need to change about how our world works and operates? Yes. That's why people are speaking up and out in a variety of forms. But. And there is a but. Many know and understand those that control this world are utterly evil and are empty of a human spirit. They set the rules. They write the narratives. And they create the agendas. We as people must be smart enough to read between the lines. And live our lives accordingly. Speaking up is a good thing. Because those that create such horrible rules will only change such rules once they realize they have no other choice. And this usually happens when the majority turns against them. And how does this occur? By the average person that has been affected by such evil. For them to speak up and out about what is wrong. The world is so full of narcissists that human interaction has become a minefield. The world is so full of narcissists that human interaction has become a minefield. A very powerful statement indeed. This is also why boundaries are so important. And it's important to talk about them on platforms such as this and others. Because it's so easy to fall back asleep. And forget the true nature of this world. And those that dwell in it. Because when you don't have active boundaries you can very easily get caught off guard and taken for another narcissistic abuse ride. Because again, we live in such a world where the one that steps on another to get ahead is rewarded. It's interesting, isn't it? It's getting to be more and more common. Where people will see this kind of behavior and will say, good for them. If that other person didn't protect themselves, that's their fault. Or if they didn't know any better. Or if they were too trusting. That's on them. You rarely if ever hear. You know, I get this other person is a bit unknowledgeable about such things. But. So and so had no right taking advantage of them. You rarely hear that kind of speech. You see, there's nothing wrong with having a legit. And I mean legit. Hustler's spirit. What I mean by that is. Working hard on your gifts God has given you. Getting up early working on your talents. Selling your goods and services and giving your all. That to me is a legit hustler. And a good hustler. However, there's another kind of hustler. And that's someone that is always on the lookout for someone that's overly trusting. So they can take what they have for themselves. Because in their minds, taking what another person has for themselves is going to somehow make their life better and easier. And if this person doesn't know how to hang on to what they have, then they deserve to have it taken from them. This is the world we live in, people. This is why it's so important both men and women need to take the blinders off and protect themselves. Now that being said, there are some women that still get upset when they listen to MGTOW videos or certain things some men say. Now first I want to mention, I don't belong to any group. I am my own man. But that being said, MGTOW comes in many different forms. You have those that have no experience with women. That just use it as a platform for women hate. But then you have men that have a lot of experience with women. That know the dangers of legal relationships with them. And are fighting to make a change. There are even Christian MGTOWs. That site where many successful and godly men avoided certain dealings with certain women because they knew it could have a negative effect on their life if they dealt with such women. Now how does this relate to such a comment? The world is so full of narcissists that human interaction has become a minefield. Well, we live in a world still, where men are shamed and hounded and told that if they don't sign a piece of paper and spend 2 months of their salary to buy a ring, and degrade themselves by getting on their knee to beg a woman to own them, that they aren't somehow a man. Because as I've said before, I'm a man that believes in marriage. Biblical marriage. Not a state-sanctioned third-party business agreement. But what happens in most of these relationships is the woman ends up with the cash and kids, and the man ends up in some studio apartment paying for her to date other men, until he's either dead or he kills himself. And this is something men should avoid until marriage has been restored to what God intended it to be. Now this in no way takes from the issues that good women face. But I ask the good women to do yourself a favor and think about how lonely the world feels sometimes. And I ask you to examine why it feels this way. And the reason you might come up with is because you find your mindset, your decent behavior, and the way you live your life is rare. It's not normal by today's standards. And I will also say, good men might be just as rare. But with that being said, we are asking men, no matter they be moralful or not, to follow an unmoralful system that doesn't allow them to properly navigate along and around this minefield of life we all live in. Instead, it puts a blindfold on them, and pushes them right on the minefield as fast as it can. And those that speak up about such things, makes a better chance for you, a good woman, to be able to find a good man. It brings awareness to such issues and problems. Now again, there are some things that some MGTOWs say and do I don't agree with. But again, they come in all types. And some are even Christians, or have a deep belief in God. Think about what MGTOW means. It's called men going their own way. What's the difference between that and a narcissistic abuse victim going no contact with an abusive parent or spouse? Aren't there some in the narcissistic abuse community that walk around with a chip on their shoulder talking about revenge? Yes, there are. But there are also many that talk about God. There are some that are complete non-believers. There are some that are this and that. There are so many different flavors and types. But it all comes down to the minefield. And the more we ignore all the minefields that we face, the more of a chance this crazy evil game is going to continue and more people are going to be ruined as a result. I would love to see the day that men and women are treated equally in family court and divorce court, and the day alimony is abolished. Let's see what happens then. Because those that are narcissists, no matter they be a man or a woman, won't have the need or burning desire to have children or get married. Because there will be nothing in it for them. Take a look around, folks. We live in a world that is like a board game, where you draw the wrong card, or you step incorrectly on that minefield, and you get taken back down to zero, or even to a negative status. If you don't think these snares and traps weren't created on purpose, you're absolutely fooling yourself. Our world was designed like Monopoly. And they even gave us this game to play for fun, I think as a joke. As a way to absolve themselves of the wrong they've done to the world. As if to say, if these dumb people can't figure out the correlation between this board game and life, then that's their own stupid fault. The fact is, those that lay in wait for people that aren't knowledgeable do understand its correlation. And they are on the hunt for you and you and you. Smiling. Pretending to be your friend. Or to have your best interests at heart. Not letting you know their only goal is to relieve you, no matter you be a man or a woman, of your precious life savings. Or of your precious life energy. If someone says you're not trusting enough, I would say to that, it's okay to be careful. There's a big difference between being paranoid and careful. Being paranoid robs you of joy, and prevents you from trying and getting out there in life. Being careful is exactly what it implies. It implies you know that not every man or woman has your best interests at heart. And you know that those that mean you harm won't present it that way. They will show up with smiles, gifts and charm. This is all done to lull you to sleep and get you to trust, as they very nicely and easily take what you have only to disappear into the night. The world is so full of narcissists that human interaction has become a minefield. Yes, indeed. This is all we've been pushed in our movies and television. Especially as of late. There are no real heroes. And oftentimes the bad guy or girl is glorified to confuse those that are impressionable in how they are to act in their daily lives. And for those that don't think your behavior can't be affected by what you see and hear, you are sadly mistaken. Because we all have. All of us. Even if it's by a little bit. This is why if someone says, "You know, James, you need to trust more," or "you need to be more open," I think to myself, you know what? I am open to the point that's comfortable. I love talking with people. I'm very friendly. I like shaking hands and having deep conversations. Or light-hearted ones. But because I'm careful to with whom I share certain things with doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. I treat such information like a precious gem or stone. A stone that a criminal or desperate nice person might want to take from me. Or when Delilah was pressuring Samson for the secret to his strength. Now, would there have been anything wrong with Samson keeping that secret from her? No, there would have been nothing wrong. And it wouldn't have made him a dishonest person either. It would have made him a smart person protecting him and his people. And the gift that God had given him. There's an old saying. Whenever you gain something such as power or wealth, there's always a dozen people lurking around the corner trying to take it from you. Well, if you walk out onto this minefield thinking everyone is good and has your best interest at heart, you're going to be on the losing end of the stick. But if you walk around the minefield and stay off of it, and you are wary of those getting you to stray off your path, trying to tell you this minefield is really paradise, you have a better shot living a happy and healthy life. Yes. This is a world sadly full of narcissists. Or people that at least have some of these toxic traits. And it truly can be like a minefield. What we need to do is get off the minefield and walk down the road that's straight and narrow. And not listen to those that are wanting to put a blindfold on us and drag us back to the minefield. Because there's nothing there except our utter destruction. And our destruction means the world won't be a better place from our talents and goodness we have to offer. Well, that's all I have for now. Thanks for listening, viewing, and commenting. Comments like this sparks good conversation so we can learn more about the world we live in and how to navigate within this world. With that being said, let's keep praying for wisdom. Let's keep praying for strength. And let's keep praying for courage. And until next time, bye for now. And be good to yourself.